Hey everybody, thanks for watching. I'm on the line with Bertie Cordle from DST Golf, connecting with us from England. Hey Bertie, how are you?
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Bertie, I wanted to talk to him today on this holiday weekend because it just came out that some really interesting studies that Bertie had come across or he had kind of commissioned. Let's specifically talk about who is Dr. Sasho McKenzie and what study did he do that would be interesting to people looking to know what kind of impact they should create?
Okay, so Sasho McKenzie, Dr. Sasho McKenzie is one of the sort of preeminent golf scientists or biomechanists in our sport, and he is a person who's able to study certain aspects of the way the body moves in relation to the golf club during the golf swing. And so I approached Sasho because I don't have the capacity to run these studies that he has the sort of equipment to test these sort of questions that a lot of people have. So I approached him and said, listen, would you mind running a study for me to check out what is the most mechanically repeatable impact position, and definitively check this out using something called forward dynamics modeling. And forward dynamics modeling is basically he's created a computer, a software golfer, so to speak, with all the joints that work like a normal human being. And you're able to set up this program to replicate a golfer hitting any type of shot with any type of swing speed with the golf club in any type of position. So I said what I'm fascinated in is trying to compare a flipped impact. So the golf shaft would have already overtaken the golfer's lead forearm before impact versus a lag impact where the club shaft is trailing behind the golfer's lead forearm at impact. And I'd like to know if we optimize a flip swing and we optimize a lag swing, and then through his software, we're able to introduce or purposefully introduce muscle misactivation timing. So we mistime the downswing on purpose to see what happens to the club face, the club path, to the angle of attack, and all those other variables that happen. And what he found was astonishing. I mean, I was expecting the result to be in favor of the lag swing, but what we found was astonishing, really. That basically you're 43% more accurate, laterally more accurate with a lag swing. You have 50% better distance control with a lag swing. You hit the ball 6 yards further with a 1 mile an hour slower swing speed. So it was chalk and cheese. What was the other interesting thing was that the consistency with which the golfer was able to deliver the same club path and face angle into impact. So the lag impact face angle was 46% more consistent, and the club path was 10% more consistent. And so those were numbers that kind of blew everything else out of the water. I mean, so basically, when golf professionals around the world are giving golf lessons and they're saying, well, we don't want you to have a flip impact. Now we've got concrete scientific-based research and evidence to prove that you are massively at a disadvantage if you reach a flipped impact versus a lag impact. Now, the reason why was something down to basically physics. Down to earlier on in the last year or this year, we did a video on the trebuchet, the similarities between a golf swing and a trebuchet machine, which is basically an old medieval sort of weapon of water, fling stones at castles. But essentially, if the golf club, which is replicating the sling in the trebuchet, if that overtakes the arm before the stone is released, or in our case, if the club overtakes the lead forearm in the golfer's case, what physically happens to the hands and the club head is that if the shaft overtakes the lead forearm, it means that you lose the pressure point in the lead hand, and the pressure point changes from your pad of your lead hand to the forefinger of your lead hand, which means you can't rely on, or there's no stabilizing effect or control that the lead hand can provide to the grip, which basically means you're throwing the club head at the ball and you're totally reliant upon your trail hand only. And that's basically why golfers are so massively inconsistent when they flip or reach a flip impact.
Yeah, I know that from doing a lot of research with other golf scientists and things, and just in science in general, they do a lot of studies hoping to find like a 2% difference or a half a percent difference between one thing and another.
Yeah.
And seeing that the difference in face angle at impact being 46% better with a lag impact thing, that's just like, that's something that almost never even happens when they do these kind of studies. So one thing I wanted to ask you, because a lot of times on the channel, when people see me working on my impact and they see me trying to get into this kind of lagged position at impact, you know, I get a lot of like emojis, like palm into the face, like, oh, there he goes again, like working on this, like upset, like, why are you obsessing with this position? What is the evidence that this is not just like a certain look or a position chasing, or, you know, just trying to look like certain pros, but there's something physically happening when you are going through with the club trailing your
you're absolutely right. So this is nothing to do with aesthetics, you know.
Right.
This is not chasing a position to get a certain look or anything like that. This is just straightforward physics. You know, it's about having the ability to control the handle until after the ball is gone, right? If you lose control of the handle before you hit the ball, you've lost control of the club face, you've lost control of all consistency. So you've got to be really good. I mean, clearly there's a lot of players out there who do get very close to full extension at impact, and they make a very good living at it. And there's we were talking earlier about a couple of players who do they're not flippy through impact, but they reach full extension at the ball instead of later. You know, Vijay Singh was one, Lee Westwood and Ricky Fowler. They get quite close to the ball and they reach impact minutely afterwards. And if you compare them to guys like John Rahm, Dustin Johnson, you mentioned one, Joachim Niemann, who and also Cameron Champ, who have a massive amount of an angle, positive angle between the lead forearm and the club shaft, which trails well behind. Those guys are, you know, are sort of out at the other end of the extreme. But physically now, we've proven, both with the Sasho McKenzie, Dr. Sasho McKenzie study, and also we did some work with, well, we didn't do any work. We asked Bertie Golf, who has a research and development facility in Scottsdale in Arizona, to run a test completely without us at all anywhere near us. But we asked them to run a test based on 35 golfers being introduced to the DSD impact line, which you've got on your golf clubs, which is that kind of alignment marker on the hosel, which helps the golfer identify the handle position that they are ideally wanting to reach at impact. And what was the outcome of that study was astonishing. Using TrackMan, K-Vest, force plate technology, we were able to understand that, you know, average golfers out there, lady golfers, high handicap, weekend golfers, we saw some really incredible stuff happening, which was their hip and torso rotation increased, so they got more open to the target. Their hands had to do less because the handle was forwards. The ball flight trajectory, the dynamic loft on the club face came down. The ball flight went a little bit further, and they were a lot more consistent. So all these kind of good things happen just as a result of trying to focus on or being aware of the handle position at impact. So that was the second part of the study that we published. And the last part was I camped myself out on a par 3 tee a couple of years ago, and I filmed with a high-speed camera 450 golfers at a pro-am. So we looked at professionals and amateurs and in reality, what position do they reach at impact? And what was fascinating is that this isn't just a problem that high handicap weekend amateurs have. This goes right into the professional game. I mean, we established that 51% of pros reach a flip impact. I mean, I had no idea. And then it was 84% of amateurs reach a flip impact. Now, a lot of the problem with this is that so much golf instruction focuses on, you know, the fundamentals, which it rightly should, you know, the grip, stance, posture, and alignment. And then a lot of time is focused on learning a textbook backswing, and, you know, where am I at the top and this position versus that position. And then once we get into a good position at the top, they say, let it go. The answer is, well, if you let it go, golfers have no idea about what they're trying to achieve at the most critical point in the swing when the club head hits the ball. And if the handle's not in the right place, and we explained earlier, if you get into that flipped position, you've lost all ability to control the handle and control the club head. So the last bit was this study of real golfers, and it was amazing to see. You had Ryder Cup players there and European Tour players there, all with lag tension or getting into a lag impact, and all of the sort of weekend golfers, or most of them, are all flippy through the ball. And of course, then you've got the low point being before the ball, and they've got to either early extend their spine to lift the club head up, or do a chicken wing to lift the club head up, and so you get that kind of thinny, positive angle of attack into the ball, which really isn't consistent for any golfer to play with. So it really is sort of stacked up, really, what the science has proven, that there's massive benefits to having or reaching a forward handle position at impact, having lag tension. Then Bertie Golf's research kind of backed that up with live testing to see what happened when golfers were introduced to the DST impact line, and then of course to identify the size of the problem. How many golfers out there do reach a bad or a good impact position, and it's something which I really do feel that is not just me saying this. Now you see it on social media. You see so many golf professionals, golf teachers, focusing on reaching a forward handle position, having a little bit of shaft lean. So it will become a larger part of teaching in the future, I think.
Well, this is something that comes up in the comments a lot. What is the difference between simply saying like shaft lean at impact and actually having the hands leading the club through impact? Yeah.
Okay. So this is a very important one, because the geometry of the optimal impact position doesn't change. Okay. It doesn't matter whether you're hitting a wedge or a driver. Okay. It's not about forward shaft lean. What it actually is about is lag tension, or having the shaft trailing behind an extension of your lead forearm. And if you have that, you have the stabilizing pad of your lead hand pressurizing the handle above the point of rotation on the handle, which basically means you're able to both hands are controlling the club head, because you're stabilizing with the pad of your lead hand and you're pushing with the bottom hand, so you're creating leverage both above and below the point of rotation. If you're flipped out, you've got your trail hand only.
So it would be possible, because I've seen this sometimes, it would be possible for someone to have shaft lean and have no lag tension, or have a flipped impact and still have shaft lean.
Yes, that is possible. If they get forward on it, they lean the shaft forwards. If their torso goes towards the target and they get forward shaft lean, but they flipped it out. It doesn't happen that often, but it can happen. Ironically, this is the one thing which a lot of amateurs struggle with, is it is possible to have an upward angle of attack and have forward shaft lean. In that sense, if you're hitting a driver, Dustin Johnson or John Rahm, if they want to hit a high ball flight, all they don't flip their wrists to hit the ball higher. They just tee the ball further forwards towards the target, and they catch it later in the swing arc when the club head is naturally coming up on its sort of inclined plane towards the target. But their hands are so far forwards, they've got a minute, maybe some forward shaft lean, or maybe not. But the point is, the club shaft is still trailing massively behind the lead forearm, which means they've got a really stable couple, or really stable sort of control over the club handle.
Let's talk for a second about, I know that in the literature, the DST literature, you see the face going through impact you see the stable face of a lag impact, and then this kind of wobbly face of a flipped impact. Talk a little bit about what Phil Cheatham found. Is there a correlation between low rate of closure, I think that's what they call that, or a high rate of closure, and handicap, and then we'll tie that into the difference of what you found?
Yeah, so basically, I wouldn't be able to comment on what Dr. Phil Cheatham has found with regards to those particular questions. What I do know is that in his dissertation, he found that there was no correlation between rate of closure and accuracy of the shot. Okay, so where that differs from what we asked Dr. Sasha Mackenzie to do was we asked for him to study the relationship between how consistently, in other words, how mechanically repeatable is club path and face angle. And that was found to be where there were massive benefits to having lag tension versus being flipped out. One thing that we can categorically say now is that if you reach full extension, which basically means a position where the shaft of the golf club is aligned with your lead forearm, if you reach that position after the ball has been struck, you'll play consistently better golf than if you don't.
Okay, I just want to have people understand like how this forward modeling works and stuff. So I'm going to explain it in a way that I understood it from reading it, and you let me know if I'm right or wrong. Or
okay, yeah.
Okay, so in the golf swing, everybody always talks about having a golf swing that reduces timing. You know,
Yep.
that's supposedly like the holy grail of golf marketing is like doing something. You know, here's a golf swing that requires a lot less timing. So in Sasha's forward modeling, so there's a lot of golf swing is a very dynamic thing, especially a full swing. There's all these different joint connections, and since we're people, that the timing of those can be either a little bit or a lot off at each single one of those joints. So he made these joints slightly variable in each one, and then did like 1,000 swings. So like, because we are gonna not be perfect every time, even a pro.
Exactly.
So when you compare 1,000 swings, given these other, you know, variables in all those different joints, and then 1,000 swings.
Exactly right. But it's important to recognize that the purposeful muscle misactivation timings that he introduced to the swings were the same for both models, right? So
we're talking about like a guy that would be just as coordinated both ways, and with this just different impact.
Yeah, no. So he optimized a flip impact. So he reached a model that could hit the ball a certain distance with a 7-iron. I can't remember off the top of my head what his optimized flip model was. I've got it here, but basically, he produced an optimized model that hit a straight ball flight, okay, with a flip. Then he optimized another swing to have a lag impact position, again with a straight ball flight. So he had two models, and then he introduced the same muscle misactivation timings to both the flip model and the lag model, lag style model, and the results of those 1,000 swings versus the other 1,000 swings were chalk and cheats.
I see. Okay.
So in that sense, it was an apples for apples type of test. There was no, we did a different, you know, there was no trying to massage the results. You know, we were genuinely waiting there to find out what's going to fall out the other end of the computer, and it was categoric. I mean, it was astonishing, really. And that explains, I mean, in his study, which you can look at now on the DST website, dstgolf.com website, it goes into you know, explaining that there is what am I trying to say there at the end? I mean, he basically says that explains the difference between a flip style impact, which is typical of a, you know, weekend club golfer type of thing, compared to a PGA type tour player who's reaching a lag impact, and those are the results that we kind of saw. You know, you're hitting the ball, I think, you know, 43% more accurately, 6 yards further, and with a 50% better distance control, and that would, you know, match up with the difference between a PGA tour player versus a club golfer type of skill level ability.
So for someone like, because there are some outliers on the PGA Tour that have what looks like a flipped impact, or looks like a slightly like club head is passing the hands just a little bit either at or before. So how is it possible that someone like that could make millions of dollars, you know, on tour?
Yeah, well, you know, physics has proven and shows us in all these studies that is mechanically more repeatable. But that doesn't mean to say that there's not, like you said, outliers out there, like people who are good at, and they clearly must be very good with their hands and hand-eye coordination to time impact as consistently as they can do it to a professional standard. and earn money that way. So there are people out there who do it, who do reach a flipped impact or a very close to full extension at impact position, and they are clearly very, very good at short game and putting, because from the examples that you've mentioned before, when we looked up their statistics, they're not the high up on the ball striking and shots saved per round in the long game. It's more, short game saves and putting wins that they're kind of seeing the better scores coming from.
I don't know if this will go up today. I'm going to try to put it up today, but I'm not sure. But there is a Black Friday level deal available at dstgolf.com if you use the promo code DSTBetterGolf. Bertie, what is the deal that people get? And tell us about, because I have the impact line on my clubs, which is great because it's legal to use through impact. But tell us about how the DST compressor, like what it is and how that can actually, because the whole thing that I've been seeing about training aids and guidance and stuff is the transfer is sometimes difficult. So talk about the process of somebody doing it well with the DST compressor and how they can get that to transfer into their actual golf clubs on the course.
Yeah, so like in everything, improvements are made in the golf swing by recognizing there's a difference between feel and real. When you ask people, what type of impact do you have? They say, I get into a lag impact position. And then you film them and you realize that they're not in a lag impact position at all. They feel as if they get into a hand, the handle forwarded impact, but they have a lot of lag up here, but they throw it out before they hit the ball. So the DST compressor is a curved shafted golf club, which has been built to replicate the shape of a normal golf club under its maximum load just after the ball has been struck. And so by recognizing that if we can reach or force a golfer to reach a handle position where the hands are trailing behind the lead forearm, and on the club head, we've got the impact line, which enables the golfer to physically see and develop a sense of muscle memory, if you like, to learn how to create a club delivery path that delivers that handle position. That club exists, and it's now the DST compressor. And it's been, very, very popular on the PGA Tour, and a lot of the guys at the top end of the official world golf rankings have been relying on that golf club for a number of years now. Without naming names, the guy who's just won the race to Dubai and the sort of the final event on the European Tour uses it regularly, and then there's lots of other guys who are at the top end of the game who are relying on this club as a warm-up club to kind of familiarize themselves with the movements that they need to make to sequence their downswing to reach this lag impact position that we've been talking about. So that club exists in a wedge and in an 8-iron, and it physically forces the golfer to deliver this forward handle position whilst rotating their hips and torso to be more open to the target. So instead of being handsy through the ball, they're using their bigger, more consistent muscles in their chest and their hips and their torso to deliver that forward handle position.
So for Be Better golfers that already got the DST compressor club, and for me who's been using it for a while, what do you think, like beyond, like once you're in kind of the education phase of like when you first have it and you're like, oh, this is where I need to be, right?
Yeah.
What kind of shots do you recommend trying to hit with it? Like once you've had it for a while and you've gotten kind of good at doing it with the club, but now you need to kind of take it to the next level, maybe make the challenge a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of the guys, when they first start using the compressor, especially the 8-iron, find it difficult to stop the face turning over, and they tend to hit pull hooks to begin with.
Yeah.
So the best way to get the best out of the club is to start small. Start with a sort of like a half swing, 3/4 swing, hitting low kind of punch shots, if you like, and try and feel as if, or try and imagine this, if there's a green out there that you're trying to hit, try and feel as if you're going to hit the left side of the green, or aim at the left side of the green and then hit little baby fades into the target. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that will encourage your body to rotate better through impact with your hands being quieter. And that's kind of like, if you can hit a straight shot or even a fade with the DST compressor 8-iron, you will have a very, very good golf swing.
Yeah, if it was a video game, the baby fade with the DST compressor would be like the final boss level of of it. But I know that even like seeing like guys like Henrik Stenson and John Rahm and other guys use it, they're hitting lots of little small shots with it. They're not just always, going out and like trying to rip 180-yard 8-iron.
Yeah. I mean, for them, it's not a club to hit full shots. It's they're using it to warm up, to synchronize their downswing, to really kind of just it's a comfort blanket for them. They know that if they warm up on the range, John especially uses the wedge quite a lot, the wedge compressor, and he just hits sort of like 40-yard sort of pitch shots with it. There was footage of him warming up for the US Open last year, and he's just hitting 15-20 minutes of baby wedges, and it was like
right.
This is kind of what he does to synchronize his swing up. So it's sort of kind of nice to see that.
Yeah, and I've been doing a lot of motor learning research and other things too, and something I haven't heard you talk about, but something that I'll recommend that's really helped me with the DST compressor is there's this stuff about feeding the error and getting to know what the wrong thing is so that you can do the right thing. So one thing that I recommend to do that I haven't heard you say, Bertie, but I know that I like it, is I'll turn the compressor upside down and have the shaft totally bent forward towards the target, so the total wrong way. Yeah. And I'll make some slow motion swings, feeling where I have to get the ball there. So you'll basically be doing a flip motion, an extreme flip motion in slow motion. Yeah. With the club bent the wrong way, just kind of knocking a ball down like off a tee, just like 2 inches or something, just very slow. Yeah. And then turn it around the correct way. And because to me, like the research that I've been seeing is the brain is very, very good at recognizing differences. That kind of has really broken some barriers for me with the compressor, because feeling like, oh, this is what I'm doing, especially if I stand up and get locked up as it's passing me, and then I flip it the correct way, and then I can get kind of more into the ground and open and forward. So I've been liking it that way.
There's two things. I mean, I know a number of your viewers will want to sort of like a tip, and they won't necessarily all want to go out and rush out and buy a DST compressor. But if they do, clearly, they've got the right tool in their hands to be able to not only improve their awareness of what the handle needs, where the handle needs to be, but also hit balls whilst they're doing it. But if they don't want to rush out and do that, another good tip is just do a split handle grip with either a broomstick or even a club. Just sort of grip with your hands with the trail hand on the metal, and then keeping your lead arm straight, so you're not sort of buckling your lead elbow, but just feel the movement that you make swinging a split handle golf club, and it'll feel like almost like a hockey slap shot. And that way you're not allowed for the bottom hand to overtake your top hand, so you've got to rotate your body more. And that really does encourage all of the movements that we're wanting to have in the golf swing, really. But the last thing about products and stuff is that clearly, I mean, we're all gearing up to wanting to be able to provide golf clubs which have the impact line in them, so the DST impact line in the golf clubs. And I've been clearly using these clubs for about 2.5 years now, which is just the line in the hosel to remind the golfer before every single shot they play, whether it be with a driver or a wedge, to familiarize the golfer with the handle position, or familiarize and remind the golfer really of the handle position they're trying to reach at impact. And you can choose not to use it. You can choose to use it. You can use it on the driving range. You can use it in your pre-shot routine on the golf course under tournament conditions. But it's going to be so exciting when we get eventually that impact line into mainstream golf equipment. And you've got it in your golf clubs now, which is kind of exciting. Really spoken to you.
Yeah, I have it in all my irons, and I really like it. It is kind of like you say, it's the type of thing where like I don't even look at it during the round, but I look when I'm on the range, like I use it all the time, and I don't really even think about it when I'm playing. So much. But it's great to have there. Just it's basically like a mini little training aid, but it's legal. Thank you for giving us so much time, Bertie. If you guys go to dstgolf.com, you can see these 3 studies that we're talking about and take a deep dive into how they came up with these figures and why it is a physical thing that you're trying to do at impact, not just an aesthetic or a look. And if you guys want to get in on this Black Friday style deal, go to dstgolf.com, and any of the products on there, if you use the promo code DST, Be Better Golf, all one word, you'll get a great discount off of what's going on there. Thanks so much, Bertie.
Brilliant. Not at all. Really good to see you. Let's speak again soon.
We will. Bye.
Take care. Bye now.